It's about to go down with Marc and Cathey, a live coaching show about dropping ideas. Marc and Cathey coach and have conversations with brilliant idea creators who are reimagining the world through the expression of their words, thoughts, and action.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's About to Go Down. I am Marc Williams.
And I'm Cathey Armillas. Oh my goodness. Who do we have with us today, Marc? This is amazing. Rukiya Ware. She is a speaker. She's an author. She's a world-class athlete and runner. She's a doctor. She's an educator who specializes in STEM and special education. And oh my goodness, when I heard this idea, it resonated within me so much. But she has a simple yet really powerful idea of it's never too late to be great. Ooh, I love that. Ooh. Rukiya, welcome to our show. And we're really excited to have you here. And tell us a little bit more about that idea that we're going to be chatting about today.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you both so much, Marc and Cathey, for having me here. It is a high honor and my pleasure to talk to two people that I have looked up to and respected over the years. Quite a long time, probably longer than you guys even know. So where do I get started? Probably I can sort of retell the journey of the children's book that I wrote. It talks about me being a runner and really where I found my confidence as a young child, because my family migrated to the United States from Antigua, a small island in the Caribbean. So if you think sort of accent-wise and culture-wise, if you're not familiar where Antigua is similar to Jamaica, a way smaller island in the Caribbean. So as a child, this is kind of the story I told myself because I spoke with an accent. Even though I was born and raised in New York, I picked up the accent from my family. So in class now, I did well in my grades. So this is the part that comes into my book. I actually don't tell you this part, but in the book, I'm doing really good with my grades in school and stuff. And then in the playground, I start racing everybody. So I'm faster than all the girls in my grade, then I'm faster than the boys in my grade, then I start racing kids older. So now I'm faster than the older kids, and I'm faster than the older boys. So here I am like a third grader, and I'm beating the fifth grade boys and the sixth grade boys. I'm like the fastest kid in my playground. So then my mom comes to me and asks me if I want to run track and takes me to track tryouts. Never even heard of this thing called track, right? So I go, I make the tryouts, I win. And then this takes me through high school, this takes me through college. But the part that I actually don't tell you in the book, like the backstory as to where Kia, I talk about how I have my confidence, but why I needed this confidence was the way that I spoke. And then, when you get to that place in life where you start to embrace it, that now I live in the DC area and they're like, where are you from? New York? And then so I take my accent with me everywhere. So I start to own this thing, right? But as a kid, I didn't raise my hand. I didn't speak up. I knew the answers and I was really good with pen and paper and taking notes and doing really good. But when I walked in the class on the first day of school, first of all, my name is difficult to pronounce. So I already know when my name is coming up, when they seat you in rows, Rukiya. So that's number one that makes me different. Number two, my parents are from somewhere that no one has ever heard of. So I have to explain it in the terms of the way I just explained it to you. And then that's explaining, why do you speak like that? Where's your accent from, right? So then the teacher doesn't really know, hey, this kid here is actually pretty smart until the first test. And then the second test. And then you start to see tests. Now we live in a data-driven world. So the data will speak for itself. But I didn't raise my hand and articulate because I had this thing about my accent. So Kia gets so as it becomes a story, Kia gets her confidence in the playground. I'm doing my work and everything, but no one really knows that I'm smart or whatever. They know that I'm fast. So I'm in the playground. So the sports thing. So this is how I tell this story. And it's always easy to explain this to children because I grow up to be a teacher, right? So this is the part in the book where I grow up to be a teacher. After college, I kind of give up on, so I'm not setting my sights on becoming, a Olympian or anything like that. It's I'm going to get a job and go out there. I got my master's degree, I become a teacher. But in between there, my mom, she gets sick. So in a child way of telling it, I just kind of say that she gets sick, but actually she's a, 2-time breast cancer survivor. And thank God, super strong. She's here. She's still with us and still running. So I realized I get this talent from my mom. So in the book, I'm talking about eating healthy, and she makes me dishes about broccoli and stuff like that. So when she gets better, I'm like, hey, I have an idea. Why don't I make you some broccoli dishes and we go for a run together? So now my mom and I out there going running again. So now I'm in my adulthood. I'm a teacher. My mom's also a teacher. So I get this from all these things I get from her. We're running and all this stuff. She gets out there running these 5Ks and starts winning her age groups. I was like, she's counting all these medals and these trophies and stuff. And then I started getting them too. So I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. It actually started, the first race that we did was the breast cancer run in honor of the 5-year mark of her survival. So then this spirals into something greater in the sense that we get picked up by like a coach in the park when we're training. And then she's like, hey, this could join our team. And I didn't realize at the time that there were teams for adults to like run. And that there's this whole world of running, the same thing like when I was a child. So when I was a child, I ran the high school competitions. I ran age group, private track clubs. I traveled all over the city and all over the country eventually for all these different competitions, regional championships, national championships, local, all these different things. I realized they had this for adults too. So now I'm with this coach and she's awesome, right? She's like high energy, obsessed with the marathon, has you running like 30 miles a week. I didn't even know that my body could do these things at this age. Like I had already gone through college and I used to hate those long runs that we had to do. I was like, why would I do this now? And I gotta go to work. Anyway, so I'm dragging around at work tired. I'm like, this is just like when I was in high school, tired. But it starts paying off. You start meeting all these amazing people on your team at the race. And these are like adults that are full of energy. They're inspired. They're this, that, the third, and the other. It's not even like your title, but it's the fact that you're just embracing life and achieving everything that's out there that life has to offer. How do I make this long story short? Because I go from running 5Ks to the half marathons to training for the marathon. And at the moment where I qualified for the New York City Marathon, it was like, needle off the record. I don't want to do this. I want to be a sprinter. So I find like another coach and he tells me about the whole life of like track and field for adults. I was like, wait, I know you have 5Ks and marathons and road races for adults. What I didn't know is that you have track and field. I was like, you mean like hurdles, sprints, jumps, like track? He was like, track. And he was like, I'm getting in shape for the World Masters Championship. I was like, tell me about this. What is that? I don't know how all these weeks later, it went from, I had signed up for a course to become a USA Track and Field Level 1 certified coach. So I'm taking the class to coach because I was also coaching students. So while I'm coaching them and I'm taking this course, whatever, I was like, there's a whole science behind this and there's like more to it. So I'm like still growing. It's something I thought was already, kind of in my younger years. So I start training. I take this coach's advice to get in shape. Long story short, I end up on the line in Lyon, France, World Masters Championship, Team USA uniform on. I'm running and the whole thing is in French, right? Did not study French in school. I studied Spanish. And in high like, hola, ¿cómo está? I'm like, ¿dónde está? Doesn't work here. I'm trying to find out, like, where is, like, I can always find my way around in Spanish. Like, where is the starting line? Where is the label, the bib number? Where is the restroom? Because runners, well, that's a whole nother story. Runners, ¿dónde está el baño? In French, to me, it was totally different. So it was just not like my mind is racing to all these other things, that all the little nuances of being in the race, but it's like one big blur that lands me on the line. And I have like the baton in my hand. First leg, I have to start down. And this is all in French. So, and then I was like, I hadn't let off a relay since I was like, I don't know, 16. No, I was a little older because I was in college. I don't know, let's say 19. But the lead off leg, there's something special about that because you have the baton in your hand. And when you start down, does the baton go over or behind the line? Your fingers have to be behind the line, but I didn't remember where the baton went. That's these little nuances about like having this experience your
Yeah.
experience taking me through, and muscle memory kicked in, and I couldn't ask it because it was in French. So it was like, where does the baton go? I was like, well, if I remember correctly, it'll work. And if I don't, then we're getting disqualified. So I just, the baton can go over the line, just in case there's a track runner here. And you know, the baton can go over the line, your fingers have to be behind the line. It worked. I let off the relay, lap after lap after lap. We come home with a silver medal for the United States. And this is like a story that I can always tell for the rest of my life. So I said, let me write a children's book about it too. Children's books back there. And it was like, how did this even happen?
The book, by the way, titled Kia and the Magical Spikes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to show it to you?
Yes, please. Yep, there it is.
Oh,
Aww.
you have to read it. Everybody watching, you have to read this book. I love it. It's so inspiring. It wraps up this story in such a wonderful and genuine way. Amazing.
Thank you. It's funny, like telling the story is like so long, but I was able to write it. It's like a 15-minute read. Like if you read it out loud, because also as a teacher, I practice the timing of how long it can be done as a read aloud. Like if you read it to your class, it's a 15-minute read with questions and answers. You can turn it into like a 30-minute because the kids get super inspired. They have all these questions about it. And but like with the page turners, it can be just over 15 minutes. So there's different things, how you can use it as an instructional tool as a teacher. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Of course, as a teacher, she thought about that, Mark. She thought about the stopping points. Of course, right? You understand. We too are educators. You know how that is. Yeah. I love that.
Yes,
Rukiya, one of the things I love, and Mark, we should probably start like diving into her idea, right? But the one thing that I will say, Rukiya, is like, wow, thank you for taking us on that journey. I felt how you were feeling. Like your storytelling was so good in that moment. I was like feeling how you would feel to not want to like raise your hand and talk. And then just how much you shined through all of that anyways, because you're just a badass runner. Number one, you're like, I could see you at recess, like just like running laps around people, racing people. And then just how really cool it was to hear that the teachers would also know how fast you were with your schoolwork and how good you became there. And so to take your life story, and Mark, I don't know what you're thinking, but my knee jerk on that is like, it's so good. One of the things I just completely take away as a person that's now, an adult, is like when you lose some of these things that you think are lost when you're an adult. Oh, I can't run track anymore. I can't do these things. I mean, those are things you did when you were a kid. And so I just immediately connect with that. The whole, it's never too late to be great. I love this. So Mark, let's rip it apart. Let's see. Because we got to get Rukiya on a TED stage, by the way.
Yes.
This story.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So anybody out there watching just right now, let's just put it out there. Let's put it into the world. Rukiya needs to be on a TED stage somewhere because her idea is inspiring and it's amazing. And we're about to rip it apart right now. So Mark, what do you think are your initial, what is your initial, thoughts? If she was going to give this tomorrow as a TED Talk, what do you think?
So there's two things, Rukiya, that I'm thinking about. One is about the audience. Mm-hmm. And the second part is how to expand upon this idea. So let me just start with the audience itself, because something I heard Cathey just say is sometimes you feel like you lose these things when you lose your youth. Right. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing is when it's never too late to be great, that's the opposite. And yet, as educators, I feel you. We share this message with young children, but there's also an adult audience out there that could really benefit from this message. And if we're talking about getting to that TED stage, right, there's not going to be a whole bunch of just young kids in the audience that you can inspire. There's a group of adults. And I love to think about how do we shape this message so that it's not only in children's book form, but it's also in that sort of adult speak, or shall I say even ageless speak, for an ageless message. right?
Honestly, Mark, too, an adult reading that book, I feel like I would be like, this book's more for me than it is for the kid, right? Like,
You get it.
I think that's, you wrote it with that in mind, right? That it's a lesson for a kid, but I mean, it's a lot, it's talking in through via a kid's book, but the adult is really, it's like watching Toy Story, right? And you're like, okay, I see your adult jokes, you know, the things that the kids don't see.
Yeah.
So I think that's smart, Mark.
But with that said, I might see Toy Story because I'm a parent. I might read this book because I'm a parent. But
Right.
for anybody else out there who might not come across it for that reason, you know, there's only so many Aunt Cathys and Uncle Marks out there.
And Aunt Rukiya.
Rakia's out there,
That's
right?
dedicated to my niece. That's how the story started. I couldn't get my niece to go to bed, and I read her every book in the shelf, and I was like, it's time for you to go to bed. She said, no, read me another story. I was like, do you know why Auntie always runs when I come to visit you? And I told it to her in that version. I was like, oh, this could be a book. And she was like, yes. So I was like, okay. And he made it a book.
Ooh.
You know, Rukiya, let me ask you that. You wrote it because your niece wouldn't go to bed.
Yeah.
What about the adult who won't go for a walk? The adult who won't go for a run? The adult who won't go to the gym? The adult who won't eat something healthy? I can go on and on and on. I love to think about, how do you now shape that message for that person?
Who are you doing this for? Who are you doing this for? Because typically you want, as an adult, you always want to show the younger generation and then show them that it's possible and show them why they should be doing this. So why should I eat broccoli? Because it paid off for me in my book. This is literally with my niece. She just didn't eat vegetables. And it was like, so I had to write this broccoli piece in it. There's this whole storyline around broccoli itself because I would steam broccolis, and you know, and it became this own thing. Because so even if you don't do it for yourself, like, who are you doing this for? Some people are just intrinsically motivated to go and be healthy on their own. But let's be honest, not very many of us are. Like, even me to go put my sneakers on and drag myself and go run, especially after the pandemic. And then, you know, some of us, myself, has gained weight, and so down to, and even once it gets started, and then you find, like, you can actually find that, you mentioned that youth, like losing your youth, but that thing that you had as a youth, like you could find it when you go back. You know, not even go, well, maybe it's not back, but when you like do that, reconnect with that part, like that's the thing that comes back. It may not,
you find that magic, right? That kind of the thing that you were drawn to, Rukiya, right?
Yeah, the thing that made you shine, the thing that made you stand out, the thing that made you love yourself.
Well, you know, think about this too, Mark. As much as I would love to promote broccoli to the world, because I'm a broccoli fan, you know, I also think Rukiya is using her book as an analogy and a metaphor to anything, being great at anything. You know, if we open this up to like a TED world, a TED idea, an idea that's good for the entire world, that means the width of this idea should be open to a wide net. Rukiya is using her life circumstances to talk about greats in the mind of the user, right? And even the term great, what does being great mean? Like, I missed out on going to the Olympics in fast pitch softball, Rukiya. I don't think you even know this about me, but I was on the junior Olympic level, and I was a pitcher and stuff. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my first daughter. And so I didn't end up going that route. And years later, I would say like, oh, I want to go to the Olympics in a different way. So it didn't have to be that I'm never going to go back to the Olympics now and in pitch, but I can go there in a different way. So that's the thing too, is I love it as just a metaphor or an analogy or something. Because great, Mark, for you, let's play a game. Mark, let's play a game. I love doing this during the middle of shows now. It's like my new thing. Let's play a game really quick and say, like, all three of us will say, what would be something that you thought you were too late to be great at? And I'll start with you, Mark. Because that's
Yeah.
what I think that's what she's getting at, right? That's the heart of it.
Yeah.
And how can she reframe your mind to make you think that it's not too late to be great, even if it takes it up in a different form? Rukiya is talking about like, wait, what? Hold on. You guys have track and field for adults. Are you talking actually hurdles and, not running races? So I get that. Like you were, because that dream was still alive, within you, it found, like the world found you. That, in my mind, that's how the story goes.
All right.
All right, Marc.
I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna play this game.
Play the game.
I thought it was too late for me to be great at dancing. And what I mean by that is I love dancing. I was going out to the clubs, I was dancing at school parties, all kinds of stuff like that. I always tell the quick short story of the time that I auditioned to be a backup dancer for Destiny's Child. I always say Beyonce, but the truth is I was trying to backup dance for Destiny's Child. And the short version of the story is, when I walk into the room, somebody taps me on the shoulder and says, "Mr. Williams?" And it was one of my former students who was auditioning. And that put everything in perspective. It's like, what am I doing here? But that idea, and as you lose your youth, you start to think, is that really a thing for me anymore? So if there's something that I thought it was too late to be great at, it would be being a professional dancer.
Nice, Marc. That's a good one. Rukiya, we'll let you go last because we pitched up this game, right? So you can close it out for us. But I had a thought too before I say mine. I have a line for it, because maybe in your TED, I could imagine you saying this on a stage, Rukiya, but you could ask the audience, because we should ask the audience this right now, right? What's your too late to be great? So we can ask them, because psychology tells us if we ask our audiences questions, they have to answer it, whether they want to answer it or not. Like your brain just naturally answers it. So I feel like that would be a really good line to ask people. And I would ask people listening right now, what's your late, as we play this game, what's your late? What's your too late to be great? So mine, I'll give you a little personal one. I was a single mom when my kids were young for a period there, and it was like a really hard time in my life. And I feel like a good part of their life, I just struggled to get food on the table, gas in my car so I could go to my job. And, I have a lot of regret in my life that I didn't educate my kids as much as I really wanted to. So I feel like there's a piece of me that failed as a parent, but now I get the second chance because I have grandkids now, right? So I do this thing with them that's called Culture Day, and we do a different thing, and we try to teach them a new culture, or we try to teach them something, right? And so it makes me feel like it's not too late, because now I can still, and I still feel like I'm part of the parenting process, even though I'm not their parent. So that was kind of the one that hit me.
Yeah, you just hit me in the heart with that one, Cathey.
I know you're a mama lover. You're world champion of mama's boys.
I love that.
We have to take a deep breath here to play along, honestly, because I could have answered that question as you asked it. Might have to look off the camera for this. And Cathey, we're the opposite. To me, it's to become a mother. So not too late to be great. And all of this leads to that, it's I believe that it's not too late. And through the pandemic, I had an experience, and that was something that can we maybe delete this, edit it? I don't know. But they have this thing in the medical profession where women who are 35 and over are considered, what's the term that they use? It's not even advanced maternal. They call it geriatric pregnancies, right? And then, all my life, I was very hard on myself. I was very, driven. So everything that you introduced me as, all of these titles, put a lot of time into it. But I've always believed that I will be a mother. And I do everything like on this level, right? I run, it's got to be at the world championship level. I'm doing makeup artist, that's to be on TV, and Toastmasters, I ended up being the area governor and all these things. I'm gonna be a mom, I'm gonna be able to do all of these things. So I don't have these regrets running from that, instead of, well, no, I'm not gonna say that, right? But it did come from a place of just making sure that I'd be able to provide for my children, but like be this, I guess, gold medal mom. Everything happens in the time it's supposed to happen. So I got married at 41, married the love of my life. You met Derek. I waited a long time for the most amazing husband. And I know people who are married, number of years under their belt. At my age, I could have been married for 20 years, 25 years. But in my space, in my life, in my experience, I have the most amazing husband and building the most amazing life. So I did all these other things. So the running and all these things kept me young and fabulous and keep going until I get to that point and keep my body a certain weight until I'm ready to be a mom. So I got this world championship at 37. I ran, times that I was running when I was in high school, like exact. And I'm like, I still could run faster, but kind of still avoiding the thing that I like really, really, really want. If I could like throw all of this away and not worry about a paycheck, I would just, be a mom. And so when I did put myself in the space, so my husband and I decided that we were going to, go for it. In the pandemic, when there were all the pandemic babies and all the pregnancies, I got lucky and got some of the dust, but maybe only half of it because we experienced a loss. And I didn't have enough experience in this area at the time. Now I'm 42. At that time, I was, oh God, the pandemic messes up your time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was 42. So in my mind, I've already internalized this, oh, you're too old anyway. So when this happens, is it because I'm so old? And it was also very traumatic experience because first of all, I didn't know what an ectopic pregnancy was. I don't know if there's enough talk about that out there. You sort of, as a woman, go from like, don't be a teenage pregnant, don't get pregnant, don't get pregnant. It's like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna get pregnant, right? Yeah. So being like an overachiever mode is so much better. So people stop asking this question. So my response to that would always be, oh, I don't have children yet. So like, make the decision like, hey, I want to do this. Then I get my positive pregnancy. Hey, I've achieved it. Hey, and then no, just as soon as I went to the doctor, it was like, hey, check me out. Because I know I'm older, so I need to be safe, which was a good thing because that's when they found out. And then I didn't realize that was the one that could be lethal and instant. I did not realize that, that it wasn't like just, like a miscarriage, which is a difficult. There's all these different experiences that I didn't know. It was a world I felt like I was thrown into an ocean I knew nothing about. Usually I train for something and I get my result, or I study for something and get my result. This was like, I thought I did the training and the result was like, I never failed so bad in my life. It felt like losing, but the thing I could have lost was my life when they explained that like the ruptures and the bleeding and that what could have happened, still very preventative. But I had to be in the emergency room more than one time. And then I had to do surgery. And then it was like a really long journey that I didn't know about. I don't know, I want to say this is something that nobody talks about, but I'm sure people do talk about it. I guess my lens wasn't there, So now here we are, I'm back on my feet. Everything is, back up and running. That was 2 years ago. So I was 42 then, I'm 44 now. So there's still the whole, I want to only work with people that are telling me just this. Not too late to be great still, So this is the one that I'm pushing my belief system. So I believe in my body. I know all the things that I've done with this body. And it has to do with, what you tell yourself. What you tell yourself that you can do, and what you tell yourself that you cannot do. Sometimes you get these outside messages telling you what you can't do. So to push back and say, I can do this is different. Then you have a lot of women didn't Janet Jackson have her baby at 50? And
yes.
There's a bunch of, and these are just celebrities that have children, in their
My
40s.
grandmother had my aunt at like 47, 48, something like that. It was an accident. I don't think she thought she could get pregnant. She did, and everything was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a question that just.
And Rukiya, you've taken really good care of your body. I think that's one of the things I think you're pointing out too, is many times when the world wants to put a thing on you, only you know what your great is, only you can define that, and only you know what the parameters are, because here's somebody who your body is in pristine condition. You've ate broccoli your whole life. You've ran, you're a broccoli master, and your body is primed for this. So like, yeah, I thank you. Well, first of all, thanks for being, being so vulnerable and open and transparent. I really, honestly, what you just showed me right now is that's the space to connect with people. Like in that moment when you were talking, I was like, you shared your deep, vulnerable, like transparent, like this is my not too late to be great. And it just it gives other people that you're telling this message for, if you can open up, and it doesn't maybe even have to be this story, but do you see when you got to that level of this story, how, I mean, if anybody who's listening right now just went, to level 100, like in a second, and then you make them think of the important things in their lives. So I don't know. I love that, Marc. We just got into a really good space, I thought, of making a connection.
I am blown away by your story and by your vulnerability, and what I think I learned and what other people can gain from your story and your message is that a lot of times when we think about it's not too late, I think there's a lot of people who convince themselves that it really is. And we are in an aging society. I think I heard somebody once say, we get old, but we don't age, right? You can get old, but you don't have to age, something of that nature, right? But so many people think about what they can't do anymore, and we get stuck there. And what I heard was that it's important to surround yourself with people who are sharing that message, that it's not too late to be great, right? So there's an importance in terms of who you're surrounding yourself with. There's also this pursuit to continue to do it, right? And not to just say like, I'm too old, that's it. But it's like, okay, here's a situation, and now let me think about how am I going to do it? And I'm sorry, everybody.
Can I interject something into that, Marc? Just because where you're heading was so good. Just really quick, I want to say, I think what you were building up to, at least in my mind, you were like saying you don't even have to get the outcome that you want. You just have to believe and go on the path, right? That's even being great alone. Whether you ever get the outcome of what you're looking for your great, it doesn't matter. It's the hugest piece is that you believe and that you do it. That you go for it. I don't know.
You never stop. You never stop.
Right? Like it doesn't.
You never.
The outcome doesn't even matter. The outcome doesn't even matter. You're being great just by participating. So
let me tell you this real quick. The two of you inspired me to even think differently about my response, and that's what I would want for you to think about with your audience. I thought it was too late to be great at finding that dream home for my mother and my two aunts. And when my mother passed, I thought it was gone. When my aunt passed, I thought it was gone. When my last two aunts passed, as far as I was concerned, it was gone. But I still believe that I can still be that homeowner for my children. Right. And there's still another opportunity. And so it's how do you almost reframe if you need to, how do you reframe what that spark is or what that passion is, right? It doesn't have to even manifest the same way that you originally thought it would be, right? But how do you manifest it, right? How do you understand that it's still not too late to achieve that thing? So I want to thank you, because I think for me, it was trivialized, but then you blew it up to a whole new level.
Oh, Rukiya, Marc just gave you a great gift in that, because I see you teaching this concept, and that is like another level that's really deep, right? Is it doesn't have to be the same exact way. You know, he had this dream for his mom and his aunts, but it can materialize out in a different way. It doesn't have to be, and it's still the pursuit of what, so the original piece is there. He wants to show some stability in his family and have something, a home that feels like a home and something to be proud of. I love that, Marc.
Yeah.
And it can show up in many different ways. It doesn't even have to be owning a home. It could be like, there could be so many different ways that materializes. I think that's such a gift. That's so great, Marc. I love that. Adjusting and reframing what great is. Being great is almost in the pursuit, not really the outcome.
I'm literally writing that down, because adjusting and reframing is more about the pursuit.
Look at that. We all stopped to just write.
I know, we're all writing. We're like, sorry, everybody, we're taking a little writing break.
Everybody take out your pens and write that down.
Exactly.
Like the classroom, right? Pens up, pen to paper.
I got my old school, 4-color Bic pen that, we used to have in school, right? Rukiya, in my mind, I see this framing up the way that we're talking about it now. This is how I see your idea on a TED stage. Because to me, ideas that are kind of, Ted's whole mission, and who cares if it's not even a TED talk, even if a TED-like talk, this kind of legacy type of talk that really impacts and inspires people, changes people's minds. I think that one of the best things that TED ever did was introduce that it's about spreading good ideas. Ideas worth spreading is their tagline. And most of the people that tend to go to TED, events, they're very curious minded people. And so they want to hear an idea in a new way that they haven't heard before. So even though your message on level 1 sounds like, oh, I've heard that before. It's never too late to do something you didn't think you could do. That's cliche, and it's level 1. But now we're talking about, what does it mean to be, it's never too late to be great. And some of the layers that we're putting in there now, Rukiya, I think it makes it like, that becomes like very TED worthy. Now you start talking about something that is really deep and very different than level 1. So
yeah. When I was at the World Masters Championship, it was amazing, because I saw their bodies. And they would, because so the World Masters is 35 and up, and it's broken into 5-year increment age groups. So we're talking about not just 35, but now 40 to 45, or 40 to 44, 45 to 49, people in their 50s. People are running like 50, this age group of like 55 to 60 are running times that can match and race and beat college kids.
Nice.
Sometimes they jump into college races for tune-ups.
Uh-oh.
Damn.
Literally, you'll jump in like a local college meet to tune up for like the World Masters Championship. If the times, the records, qualifying is unbelievable. So when I jokingly call it the Olympics for old people, because, we look at these ages and call them, put into a category. And that's not what it is. So I was inspired, I'm going to say at a young age, to say, hey, this is my grow up plan. Like, this is what I want to do when I grow up, or as I grow up. So I met somebody, because you compete from all over the world, right? You represent your country. There was a gentleman, I don't want to get too specific, but someone in their 70s was married to someone in their 50s and moved from the country because he's in such great shape in his 70s, was able to do a multitude of events. He married someone in their 50s and moved to the country of the person that they married to, because that type of youthful energy was there. You look at the form and the fitness level of, they just had a label. It was just like a tag on that puts you in your age, like who you're supposed to race. But even when they're doing relays, they put people jump down age groups and create relays, because it's not fair to race somebody like even older. You can race younger, and you have people moving down from the 50s, like somebody who's a champion in the 50s category can be put on a relay in the 40s. You could create relays that you can't individually race, but you can create a relay. Hey, if somebody's 55 and race them against 41-year-olds, that's not, you know, and then they win and break records.
Nice.
So to see that with the body, and you know, the face, the experience will show on your face. So as you gather these life experiences also, you learn how to do it better. And then like this me talking to like a way younger me that had all this pressure on myself, let's say in high school, college, those years, the amount of pressure I had in myself. I known then what I know now, like, hey, chill out and enjoy. I did though, you know, I hung out, made friends, at party, I studied and all that stuff, but it's still like those elements where you beat yourself up because you didn't do the thing because you think it's too late. You think you're running out of time, you know, to do the thing that you want to do or whatever. Yeah, I want to run this time or have this grade or do this. Or, I don't know, these things that we put in our head.
Yes.
You know, there are a few things that are, you know, critical that you can't like change, and like, you know, like the story that is, you know, shared with you, like, but it's how you respond. It's how you respond to what you do, because I had moments of being
but you could reframe it, right? Like that's the cool thing I loved about Marc, your story. I think that was such a gift to Rukiya, is that you know, there are some hard lines on certain things in the world. There just are, right? And you know, but it doesn't mean that a reframe can't come up and change it in some way. I reformatted. I don't know why I was saying it the other way. I have an idea for you now, Rukiya. I think it should be, I think the question you should ask the audience is, what's your not too late to be great? I was saying, what's your too late to be great? It's because you're already reinforcing that it's not. And I don't know why I didn't do that the first time. So what's your not too late? I would even put heavy emphasis on not. What's your not too late to be great?
So right away you're crossing it out.
What's your not? Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because you're putting that emphasis to them and you're already asking the question of like, what is that thing? I mean, you know, if our audience was following along with what we just did right now and they're listening, and then I'm sure we inspired them to go, oh, you know, there's probably a couple things tucked away that I didn't think about anymore. I got to dust those off, especially yours, Marc. It's so great. Sometimes I think when, you know, somebody passes, and if you had some kind of dream for something that could have been, you know, maybe you didn't have that conversation with somebody before they passed away and you think it's too late, but it's not. Like, how can you reframe it? So I kind of think there's two levels. The first level is like that awareness of just going, ooh, what are those things that I pushed off to the side? And then the second one is, does it need a reframe?
Yeah. Now let me ask you with that, Cathey. You switched up your question.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, here, I'm going to put this English teacher hat on and throw out the word dichotomy, because we like the word dichotomy sometimes when we talk about English. I love the dichotomy of asking people what's your too late to be great, to get them into that frame of mind, only to flip the question and then ask them, what's your not too late to be great?
Marc, your English teacher pays off. I love it.
I'm a STEM teacher, so thank God that you have the ELA training.
Thank you both for educating me. Like I'm the only non-teacher in this group here. And so I'm like, I shouldn't be the one rewriting questions, right? No, I love that, Marc. I love that. I do love that because then almost in some way too, it's an analogy to what you did. It's almost like that one little word changes everything. Also that one little thought that you could go out and run with your mom, or you could compete for, you know, at the world masters for, you know, in your age bracket for the country. Like, whoo, it's only the difference between one word.
That's it. That's it.
That's so brilliant, Marc. And that could be part of her messaging. It's like, it's that one word. It's the one word that's the difference.
That's the reframe.
It's not too
that's
late,
the
or it
shift.
is too late. It's not, or it is.
Go ahead, Rakia. I see those.
That's the dichotomy,
I
right?
see this. I see
I'm
the
right.
wheels turning.
I'm writing it down. It's that one word.
That one word.
Aha moment.
Mm,
Just that one.
man, Cathey, I got to ask you about one other thing, because I heard Rukiya say this phrase, and I'm just curious how it marinates with you. You called it a grow up plan. I don't know if you remember saying that earlier, but I was like, a grow up plan.
You're like, I'm
oh,
writing that down.
I'm writing that.
I need a grow up plan right now. I love that.
Came out of my mouth. Sometimes my mouth thinks faster than my brain, because I was thinking like retirement plan, but those not retiring, right? So
Yeah.
you attach certain concepts to certain numbers. So when some people like talking about being in nursing homes and retirement plan, that type of thinking, this is my grow up plan. And I felt so young looking at like the future of, if I just keep doing the thing that I love, this is where it will land me, traveling all over the world, competing, doing the thing that I love. And that outcome, like detaching from the outcome, it doesn't even matter. First of all, I didn't even go there intending to win. I was just so excited to open a box with a USA uniform in it.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell, I'm wearing the same uniform as Allison Felix and you name it, every track star. Like, what?
That's a FloJo, right?
Yeah, yes. And they update the uniform, and the uniform goes by the Olympic year or whatever. So we get the Olympic kit that like the Olympics that previous, right? So we just get the kit that follows. So like the Olympics that comes out, they wear the new USA uniform. This is when I enter in these things, this is what I get to wear. It was the uniform for me. I was sitting in my mom's living room and I had already arrived. Anything I did after that was just like,
you hadn't even written the race yet.
No, I didn't even book my flight yet. I had the Airbnb, not the flight. I couldn't even pronounce Lyon properly yet in French. So it was like, oh, Lyon, oh, okay. So all of it was like a tale to be told, and sitting there, it was like a grow up plan. Like, this is, I'm not doing this retirement. It just completely reframed the way I thought about every year that the calendar changes and the number changes. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
I love that. I you know, because
I
I love how you really pointed out that, as you said it, we attach some concepts to a certain number. And it's like, at some point, your grow up plan for many of us has become the retirement plan. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be a retirement plan? Why can't it continue? Why can't I at 85 still have a grow up plan?
Yes.
You know?
Why would
I love that.
Why
I love that too.
That you love. But
Yeah.
But
we do that.
Hmm?
No, but we do that. But we do that.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure. Well, we allow people to put us in the boxes and spaces, whether that be, our age or something that we can't do anymore, especially in sports. I mean, Rakia, I know you probably get that a lot. I mean, I just played in my very first over 50 soccer tournament. I haven't played in a tournament for years. You know what my coach told us, or the manager of our team? She's like, oh, don't get it wrong. You might go and think, oh, you're over 50 and you're in really good shape. And you might think, she's like, anybody that's playing soccer at over 50 is going to be damn good. And she was right. I was like, oh, everybody's really, and there was an over 60 and an over 70, women over 70 playing soccer, y'all.
Nice.
Really damn good too. Because like you said, I mean, if somebody's dedicated their life to eating broccoli and training, they're there. So I love that. I love it.
That's a compliment. What are you talking about?
Wow. I love that we're talking about eating broccoli, by the way. I just love that.
It's like the undercurrent of the theme for me is like, I hope everybody leaves going, You know, I should probably eat more broccoli.
And that's
I need more broccoli in my life.
Yes, go out and get the book because that is the undercurrent like in the book. But
my book is on its way already. I ordered it yesterday. I showed you. Yeah, I can't wait.
I can't wait for my youngest to read it as well, because he loves running track, and he is the only person I've ever known to order food from the Chinese takeout, but only order broccoli, not chicken with broccoli, broccoli.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's meant to happen, you know?
Mark's like, why are you ordering broccoli? What happened? I love that. He's like parenting you somehow, Marc, right?
Yes. He's got the broccoli, the magical spikes, and the grow up plan.
Yeah. You know, he's my twin, right? So that's I get that. Oh, love that.
They twins.
Rukiya,
cool.
You know,
Same birthday.
Yeah, we share birthday. Yep. But we share a lot of things alike. Marc and I, every time we talk, I'm like, that would be me at a Chinese restaurant. I would go, I can't eat anything. I just need a bunch of broccoli. That's probably what I would order. That's what I'm saying.
I order shrimp. I throw a little shrimp in there. Need some protein.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let him know.
Get some protein in there too. Rukiya, I can totally see you on a TED stage doing this, but even beyond, a TED stage is not even the end of your line for me. I think you should be speaking this from stages everywhere. Like this should be, I can envision that just being your thing that you talk about because you've lived it. It's in alignment authentically and genuinely with what you've done and how you live your life. And it's everything that you do. You opened up the door a little bit more and told us a little bit more about your life. I bet you if we pulled that door wide open, I bet you this shows up in your life in so many other ways. I just really feel energetically, I feel connected to your idea personally, but I feel like it's this idea you were born to speak about. So
yeah, and I just want to, well, I wanted to piggyback on that and even talk beyond the red circle of the TED stage, because what we've talked about here and the different questions that you can now incorporate into the talk become discussion points, right? You go out there and you speak to groups and there's a discussion point about what they think is too late to be great. There's a discussion point about what is not too late to be great. There is a point, there is an action. I want to call it an action plan, but there's a grow up plan that you can help people to actually develop so that they can do the things that they once thought were too late to be great, that they now understand is not too late to be great at. So it goes beyond just 18 minutes of informing. It branches off.
It's your next book.
Yes.
It's your next book.
Yes.
And it's a book, it's a book and it's an intellectual property of yours for adults. It's what you took and that's the thing for the adults. And part of that grow up plan is what you mentioned, Marc, which is the reframe. If part of your grow up plan has to be that you thought these things were gone because something happened and it physically can't happen anymore. Again, a very clear, like somebody passed away or something, it's time to kick into the bonus, which is the reframe.
Rukiya, you better watch out. You're going to be the reverse Stephen Covey. Remember how Stephen Covey wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and then he wrote it for the kids? Well, you just wrote the kids book, and now you're going to write it for the adults.
Yes. Yeah.
Kids get it faster than adults do, so we're just a little slower. So we just needed to start with the kids book first.
You guys read my mind. You guys like my spirit animals, because it was like I say it over and over and over, and I feel like a broken record to myself, telling people, this story. So putting it in, but when I tell kids, it's super easy because it's like, oh, imagine doing anything that you want to do, because that's what we tell kids. They can do anything they can do, right? It's like, so I did all these things, and this was like the best story that will capture your interest. So yeah, but now to take that idea and spread it to the adults, because it's still there. It's it's there. And so just the world a brighter place.
I have a question for you. Well, not a question. Like, let's throw this. I'm going to throw this up in the air as because I'm going to test her method right now. That could be for adults, right? So I had a pretty traumatic childhood when I moved from Chicago to LA. And when I got there, for whatever reason, I just clung on to the Dodgers. Like, I loved watching. Now I can't stand watching baseball. I feel like I would rather watch anything but baseball. But I would watch the Dodgers. I knew all of Fernando Valenzuela being the pitcher. Like, I was really asphyxiated on how good of a pitcher he was. And like, I really, really loved back, this is back mid 80s, LA Dodgers. I used to stand in front of my mirror. This is an embarrassing moment to actually say out loud, like it's out in the world, right? I used to stand in front of my mirror and practice the pitch, which was different than you do it the women's way, right? And I was already a pitcher, but I practiced, and my dream was one day to be the first female to ever play on the Los Angeles Dodgers, ever. And so, crazy dream, right? Like, super crazy. Like, it still hasn't been done. A female still hasn't broke that yet. But there's so many different ways to reframe that dream, right? So many ways. And, maybe we could play a quick game and say, like, if some adult had something like that, like, how many different ways? Because that might be a fun part of your process, is like, what could we do to reframe that? Obviously, I could do something like, I could now, excel at some other sport or something that would still fulfill that need, or I could become the first female in something else, which still keeps the theme of being the first female, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. Those are my thoughts. What do you two think?
What came to mind was, well, in track, we have like officials. So people that like are around to make sure that the sporting event is going well. So for instance, just like a starter at the start of the race, now I'm playing that back. There were not that many female starters. There were, I go back and I actually recognize in my face a lot of male starters who were also track coaches, who also, so you get paid as an official at the meet, you're a coach. So just something like the baseball version of that, where you could be still on the field. So one of the only females doing whatever the case may be, that I'm sure there's some sort of
an umpire or but that's it. Yeah.
Commentators. There's so many.
Yeah.
That show up if you wrote a children's book about it, and then you're a offender.
I love it.
Because
I love that, Rukiya. I love that. Hopefully, I was just trying to throw something up in the air. And Marc, I don't know if you want to give thoughts on it, but I think this would be a good exercise I just envision you like, one of the biggest problems that speakers have, Rukiya, it is like, this, you speak, but it's like breaking through this invisible wall between them and the audience. And if they're standing up there just talking about themselves and their story, me, I, they never really break through. You're kind of relying on the fact that the audience will like really cling on to something you say, but you can actually just break through the wall and ask them these questions like, what's your too late? Or pose an idea and show them a reframe. And then it becomes like an us thing as opposed to a me thing. Like, Rukiya did this, but you can do it too. Like, and so I even envision you, Rukiya, in a room full of women, right? Like, what if you go speak at a women's event and you have somebody just stand up in the crowd and you literally say, please stand up. Tell me what was your too late. What's your too late? And then have everybody in the room give other ideas.
I love that idea that she mentioned. And it's true. It's true. It's like I said, you don't have to just be an 18-minute wonder, because you are this message is so incredibly powerful for so many people. And I love what Cathey said. This whole idea of getting up in front of a group of people, having them share what they thought was too late, and bouncing ideas off of everybody. Like if Cathey went in the room and talked about pitching, pretending to pitch like like any of the pitchers on the Dodgers, and then saying, who could be the first female pitching coach for the Dodgers?
Oh,
who could start their own female league? But instead of why in a female league, why do we have to pitch this way? Why can't we pitch just like the other guys do? Right?
What? Oh my God, my mind is blown.
You are so
Marc.
you have so much potential with this, Rukiya. You have so much potential with this.
Rukiya,
Man.
this is
Wow.
so great.
Wow.
Yes. Rukiya, so we got to ask you, we've been picking your brain for quite some time now. And what I love that Cathey calls an idea conversation. I love that term. That's what we're having. And so as we've had this idea conversation, what we're both curious about is, how has this idea changed or evolved for you?
Whew. It evolved. I'm thinking of like a funnel. It went from, my whole story and what I wanted to act and to get it into words. And I have a lot of notes here. But we hit so many amazing points. The whole concept of like, what are you losing in your childhood, but you're actually not losing anything. It's more like a reconnection. And then you do that reconnection through reframing and you're questioning. I think my big takeaway is just, well, can it be two?
Of course.
As many as you want.
The grow up plan, I think that is like really, really just hits the nail on the head for me. It just speaks to the whole thing, the journey, all of the pieces, and then beyond. And then that one word, because of that grow up plan, what would get in the way of creating and executing, even be able to see your grow up plan, is that one word. So if you not, because you would be telling yourself that certain things are not possible and it's been lost. So when you reconnect, reframe, you find it, that's through that one word, like, no, not now. You like sort of free yourself from that, and now you're moving forward. So now what is your grow up plan? Let's reframe it, let's grow up, let's get after it.
Beautifully put. Let's get after
it. I love that. Woo, I love that.
I love that. Oh, wow. Rukiya, so tell us, where can people find your book? Where can people find out about you so that when you get onto that TED stage and when you're doing all those workshops, they can make sure that they are in the same room with you? How do they find out about Dr. Rukiya?
You can find me. My book is on Amazon. So if you search up Kia, K-I-A, because I did change it to make it a little easier to spell, K-I-A, Kia and the Magical Spikes. You can look me up on Instagram and send me a DM, and my tag is super long. So it's Dr. Rukiya Jeffers Ware. That's my full name, D-R-R-U-K-I-Y-A Jeffers-Ware. That's the Instagram handle. And then just rukiyaware@gmail.com. If you want to email directly, have conversations, and you can find me.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, for everybody out there who is looking to create a grow-up plan of an idea that they would like to share with the world, Cathey and I would love to have an idea conversation with you. And if you know anybody else who might think that it's too late to get up in front of a stage on a red circle, deliver a TED Talk, and change the world with your idea, have them go to It's About to Go Down show. We love to have a conversation because it's not too late to be great. And it's definitely not too late to drop an idea. And so we hope that you join us again, and we hope that you enjoyed this time that we had on It's About to Go Down.